Hey folks, welcome back to Honey Money SG. Now today let's talk to myself on how I actually managed to save more than 50% of my monthly income. And before I share all the details, right, I just want to put forth this assumption because without assumptions, our case will be really hard to explain. So let's use this assumption of this guy in his 30s and is earning around a monthly income of $5,000 as a degree holder. And to not overcomplicate matters, right, I will just assume that this guy is actually single because if he's married, then a lot of assumptions have to be thrown in, right? Whether he has kids, whether he has parents to support. Let's just assume that this guy in his 30s earning $5,000 of monthly income. Then we'll go and do the calculation. Alright, yeah. So why I use $5,000 is a really arbitrary number, right? Assuming that as a degree fresh grad, you're getting around 3.6k of fresh grad pay, then maybe like 5 to 6 years you have promoted to the next senior role, or maybe you have changed your job and hopped to a better offer. So maybe your next step is like $5,000 of monthly income. So that's really just an arbitrary number. Don't get and bash me for it saying 5k too high for a 30 years old guy. And why $5,000 is actually to make the calculation much easier as a whole number rounded to the thousands. So let's start with the first one, right? Contribution to your CPF at 20%. So you do know as a full-time employee, you have to contribute 20% to your CPF accounts, and then the other 17% is contributed by your employer. So 20% contribution means $1,000 deducted off your $5,000 monthly income, and that means you'll be left with $4,000. Now don't be too sour over that 20% deduction, because even though you contribute 20%, your employer has to contribute 17%, and if they take out the CPF scheme, you won't enjoy that 17% additional component. But the CPF is really quite useful, right? You can use it to do investing if you have amounts above 20,000 in your ordinary account, and you could even use the ordinary account to go and pay your housing. So these are just some of the benefits you can use with your CPF, the $1,000 that you have to contribute as a mandatory contribution every month. So let's move on to the remainder, right? The 80% take-home pay that we are more familiar with, and that would be left with $4,000. And I'm going to budget $1,000 for your own personal expenses. And so the full $1,000 breakdown will be as follows: $400 allocated for food, $200 for grocery, $100 for entertainment, $100 for transport, $100 for insurance, and $100 for utilities. Of course, there are some other miscellaneous expenses that I may have excluded, but let's just simplify the calculation here, right? So all these expenses will add up to $1,000, right? Which I believe is quite sufficient for a single person in his 30s. Nothing too luxurious, nothing too fancy. We're not talking about holiday budget here, where you all can spend more than $1,000 a day. And let's say this guy is really filial, right? He contributes 10% of his monthly income to his parents. So he's giving like $500 out of his pocket to his family allowance. And you realize after all these deductions, you are left with 2.5k. Okay, how do I get 2.5k? $5,000 minus the $1,000 CPF, minus the $1,000 personal expense, and minus the $500 of family allowance. You will be left with 2.5k, which is 50% of your monthly income. And if you follow the very popular budgeting rule of 50, 30 to 20, that means 50% you save it, 30% you spend it, and 20% you do and contribute for wealth building, for example, investing or keeping as war chest. Then you realize my model worked quite well because 50% is really safe for the 2.5k, 30% is spent on your own personal expenses, plus your parents' allowance, and then the 20% goes to the CPF, right, which is your wealth building journey of building your own retirement funds. So this is a very simple budgeting rule. You can set your own ratios and the budgets based on this 50, 30 and 20 rule, depending on how much monthly income you have, right? Especially so if you're a higher income earner, then your spending, if you don't subscribe to lifestyle inflation, will be kept at a really low level. Then you can increase your savings or your wealth building funds. Of course, the huge assumption here is that I have not factored in your bonuses like your annual wage supplement, AWS, or your performance bonus or your company variable pay, because all these things are not constant, right? And it's very much different from people to people. But what is the advantage is that if you include your bonuses in, then it can significantly increase the cash flow that you have. So maybe that could increase your savings or your wealth building funds while keeping your spending at a constant level. I need to stress here, You need to keep your spending at a constant level and not subscribe to lifestyle inflation just to please your friends and family and peers, trying to see that you're doing better than them, right? I think that's just a very toxic mindset. So like I said, this is really about personal finance, right? These situations really differ from people to people based on their own personal finance decisions. So you do have to adopt the best strategy for yourself and not just use my carbon copy and then think that it does not work for you. I'm just talking rubbish, because everyone's situation really differs. And what is suitable for me may not be suitable for you. Maybe you will feel that spending just 30% of your income is not justifiable. You need to spend a little bit more. Then you do you. Go and decide which is a comfortable level of spending for you. But most importantly, you have a target goal of savings or investment that you want to reach, and then you devise a plan to work towards it. I think that's more important. So if you're still confused on how you could actually spend $1,000 in 1 month, right? You think that this number is ridiculous, then you go and look at this video I did, right? How to actually spend $1,000 in 1 month. With that, thank you for watching. My name is Christopher. This is Honey Money SG, steering young adults to financial independence.